Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Gotham Chess Slow Run. In this series, I started as a 400 on chess.com, and now I am very close to 1600, winning 136 out of a possible 136 games. I do not expect you to replicate this. You would probably be banned for cheating if you did, unless you also started a slow run account as a chess master. Today we are in the 1580s, and we're trying to reach that big milestone. And as I always do at the beginning of every video, I talk about my book, but I don't have to post a picture of it anymore because it's literally here. And why am I showing this to you? I will reference this a lot. This is the exact rating range that the book is for, 1500, 1600, 1700. And signed copies are back, and this is the last call. Autographed pre-orders sold out within about 5 days last time. Strand has opened up your last chance to get them. They will ship it internationally, but it is a little bit expensive. If you are looking for it in, let's say, a European country, you could check with Waterstones. Anyway, I have a link, okay? I always have a link. It's the Penguin Random House link. You go there and you find where it's available. And if it's not available in your country, whether that's in Australia, Africa, South America, etc., Middle East, and so on, and Asia, Antarctica, we're working on it, all right? We are working on it. Folks, let's go and get yourselves a signed copy. Super exciting. It looks fantastic. I mean, really, just before I go, this green cover came out so good. It looks so good. Look at these two. Now I need to find the color of How to Win a Chess 3, you know, the master level book to get you to 2200. Don't know. Got to think about it. Anyway, I'm very proud of it. I'm very, very proud. And we are going. Let's go. All right. Okay. Opponent isn't moving. That's fine. Opponent isn't moving, so we keep going. Some of these people, I'm like, have I played these people before? Let's play a Sicilian defense. It's been a while since I played the Sicilian. I have a little bit of coffee here. Obviously, there are many Sicilians. I am going to play e6, and I'm going to play the 4 knights Sicilian with knight f6, knight c6. Okay, but my opponent doesn't actually play, they don't play d4, they play knight c3. So there's a few ways to go about this. Knight f6 immediately looking for d4 takes would fall into the category of any Sicilian we want to play after that, but knight f6 allows e5, which I can't really do. So one of the other ways to play the Sicilian is to play a6 early, but this is, you know, White's entire idea is to kind of trick us into this position, but it doesn't particularly matter because with this move, you know, we sort of enter where we wanted to go anyway. And now I play knight f6. And so I actually have a course on this. It is on Chessly. That is not the best move. Most people actually play that. It is the most popular move, but it's not the best move. And generally, black is going to get to play... no, I apologize. This is one of the lines. This is not the best move. I was going to follow it up with, most people after this don't play the best move, which is e5. That's what I'm trying to say. It's early, and I haven't had all of my coffee yet. And that was me yapping, as the kids say. There is no more natural move here than pawn to d5. Of course, it's very easy to play this move. Now you honestly have a choice of which way to take. I do think it feels a little bit better to take like this, so you keep your structure kind of together. Taking with the other pawn would have also been all right. Now White probably should trade this bishop for mine. They don't, which is okay. And now I should develop this bishop either here, here, or here. Honestly, all of these moves are good, but I do kind of like pointing the bishop in the long-term vicinity of the king. And now, you know, as you're getting better as a player, I want you to think about things like, you know, castling is the automatic move. It's the move you don't even have to think about in this position. But the move that is a little better, in my opinion, here is h6, because now we limit the development of this bishop. And White could play bishop e3, just kind of like, well, that's the only place I can put the bishop. Another move could have been rook b8, you know, to put pressure on this pawn to prevent it from the bishop from moving. Queen f3 is certainly a possibility here. Okay, it is played by the opponent, and I do wonder if they're going for you know, this bishop f4, but I think bishop f4 just loses because I think, maybe not. I was thinking bishop f4, I can play e5. But there might be knight. Okay, well, none of that happened anyway. So we're going to play this rook to b8 with pressure on this pawn. Rook b8 just can never be a bad move, right? Rook b8 can never be bad here. Knight b5 is a very smart move. I really like knight b5. Ooh! Can I take and play queen a5, forking this and this? No, there's queen e2. Look at that. Ooh, almost. But this is a very smart move. This is a very Soviet move. But I could play queen a5 straight away, and then white would need to find queen e2, right? I can also just, like, come back. But then I'm allowing bishop f4. Knight b5, knight b5's a good move. Knight b5's a very good move. All right, I gotta lock in here a little bit. I am trying to be a little bit too creative. Is what's happening. I'm trying to be too smart. And it's not working. Let's see. Okay. My dog is barking. Bishop a6, knight takes there. There's always some sort of bishop f4. Okay. I'm not very happy with what's happening here. I sort of didn't expect my opponent maybe to play the best move. So, let's play bishop e7. I don't know what my dog is barking at. I should check. All right. It was nothing. Okay. I really hate this position. This is going to be one of those slow run games where things don't go our way in the beginning at all. All right? Things are not going our way. So we're going to have to change the pace of this game. My opponent plays bishop to e5. I need to start getting rid of some of these pieces. So I'm looking at knight to d7. Retreating when you have such pieces pointed at your king feels very dangerous. You're immediately like, is there a sacrifice? Can something get into the d6 square, etc.? But trading a few pieces will alleviate some of the pressure. And if my opponent retreats, I'm going to try to maybe kick out the knight and then maybe trade the dark square bishop, or play knight c5 and trade that bishop, because obviously it's a very unpleasant position right now. I'm sort of tied in knots here. You know, the truth is, when you play the slow run, you know, if I was playing a 2500, I would think like every single move is the best move. Sometimes my brain mentally skips a move because it's like, this is a little bit above this level. It's a little bit trippy. It's a little bit trippy to play chess in a slow run, to be quite honest, because I never know. I never know if I'm, you know, going to face somebody that's playing very well. Okay. Bishop f6. There is a move here for my opponent, and that move is bishop takes a7. Bishop takes a7 looks terrible. A move like that just never looks particularly smart. Now is an interesting choice. And I feel like if I take with the queen, I never have to worry about getting checkmated. This is how you defend against pressure on the king. By the way, defending is a chapter of this book. My opponent plays queen g3, preserving the queen on the board, but I feel like b2 is just there to be taken. You know, maybe I play knight c5 first, because I still want to get rid of this piece, and this, of course, is protecting that. And if my opponent plays knight d6, then I'm going to take on b2. Then I'm going to, yeah, so now I'm taking here. And I think we've just presented a masterclass in defense and rerouting. Rerouting and defending are two things covered in the next book. I will even show it to you. All right, just in case you don't believe me. Now that we have the table of contents. So now we are up a pawn. We've kind of cleared our way through. White has 2 attacking pieces. They could have 3, but it won't work. And we have a very strong defender. The queen is the best defender. You see a queen and a bishop like this, you are looking at the battery infiltration. And that doesn't exist right now. Is that just free? They want to get the rook down to the back rank. That's a little scary. It's a little scary indeed. So maybe we just do the smart thing. Let's just trade. Knight takes bishop. Oh, actually, knight takes bishop is just great for us because we've removed the piece that was covering our king's escape square. That's actually very clever by me. I played the best move like instinctively, you know, just through instinct. Instinctively through instinct. Yeah. Hard-hitting commentary here. I will show you one thing in the analysis portion that we do afterward. I had rook takes followed by a queen sacrifice that was totally and utterly unnecessary, but it was possible. And then I had rook c1 ideas, but obviously being up 2 pawns is very good. You know, I can play like rook to c2. We have to talk about converting winning positions. Rook c2, there would be rook f1. So, I mean, I still have to win the game, unfortunately. Let's just push the outside pawn. Like, sometimes the simple plan is just, you know, you get your pawn as far down as possible. And then it becomes a real nightmare for white to defend. Because if you play rook b2 and a2, it's gonna be a real issue. I didn't go here because after rook f1, I didn't see a way to progress. And I didn't like that my back rank was open, but I still think probably rook c2 is the best move. And after rook f1, something like e5. One major thing that would help me win this game is to trade the queens, because with no queens, I never have to worry about any sort of counterplay, and my rooks just dominate. You know, I have 2 extra pawns. When you have 1 rook or 2 rooks, I mean, your extra pawns are completely decisive. I mean, it's not even up for debate. For white, maybe rook b7 is possible, but the second white leaves the first rank, I can immediately trade a rook. My rook is protected. I would trade the rook. Honestly, I might not even want to trade the rook. I mean, rook a1's fine. It's sort of an automatic move. And all right, queen g4 doesn't look like there's a threat. Oh, they stopped guarding this. They stopped guarding this. Now they are hopelessly lost. Although I don't see a knockout immediately, it would be really nice if I could play rook c4. I could play rook c2. Still, there is rook g1, which is super annoying. So just no rush. What if we just like... Okay, if a4, rook f1, I have to be a little careful. So can I play pawn to f5? And try to like... But I don't want to weaken my position, you know? I don't want to weaken my position. Let's just play a4. We're keeping it very simple. And we don't have a lot of time. Rook f1 is the smart move. Then maybe we offer a queen trade. Or we bring the queen back this way. We just need to... Notice how every move I'm looking how they can attack me. This is such an important part of the game. Rook g1 can never be a good move in an endgame. We're just going to push. Rook g1 does nothing. It not only that, white is now down 3 pawns and has a passive rook. Okay, d4 is reasonable. I'm going to play rook here. The idea is to obviously attack the pawn, but also to clear this pawn to go to a2, which I said in the beginning when I started pushing that pawn, the simple effectiveness of pushing a pawn like that is that rook d4 is also possible, I think. Rook d4 with a counterattack on the queen, but we're just going to take with the queen. If they don't trade with us, this will be checkmate, unless they protect. And obviously a2 is coming. And I said the simple effectiveness is just like, it's really hard to protect a pawn like that. White has to keep all their pieces on the first rank. We noticed that I traded my opponent's active and attacking pieces. Okay, now queen h3. We're going to take this. We're going to push this pawn. Honestly, even like rook c2. Rook c2, this rook has to come forward to not get checkmated. Pawn is on a2. Total domination here. Okay. I can win in a few ways. Honestly, this is the best move because it doesn't allow the king to come off the first rank. That was a nice win by us. Let's add a tally. And I said in this next book, there is stuff on rerouting, right? Which is something that we did, and piece play. And I do just want to point this out to you. The table of contents, which might be public on the Amazon page. This is the inside of the book. You're the first ones to see it. And this is the table of contents. How to make a plan, part 1. Pawns, how to use your pieces. Knights, bishops, rooks, etc. There's a whole chapter on attacking. There's a whole chapter on defending. Defending the king, defending when down material, equal material, but a worse position. And yeah, the Knights chapter has a section on rerouting. There's blockading right here. Look at this. Rerouting. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a whole section on bringing your knights backwards like this and, you know, moving them in such a way to alleviate the pressure, whether that's to put them on a better square or trade something. So h6, you know, is a move that I just played for your consideration to prevent, you know, the opponent from an easy developing move. The computer thinks castling is just fine, but it was just food for thought. Queen f3, and now I should have prevented knight to b5. To be honest with you, I should have just prevented this move. I thought about it, but I was like, I'm just going to castle, and this was actually the last moment where I could have considered the move a6 to prevent knight b5. It is the top move of the computer. It is. And it's literally because knight b5 is a little clumsy for black. Knight b5 threatens to trade a knight for a bishop, which is generally good, but especially in this position, you know, this bishop becomes a lot more powerful in the absence of the dark squared bishop for black. And just thinking of things like this and playing a move like a6, a6 is something called prophylaxis. 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 If you play that in Scrabble, I'll be very impressed. And prophylaxis, oh my gosh, prophylaxis or prophylactics, prophylactic moves will be a chapter of the final book, because it really is one of these concepts that at 1600, you are not actively thinking about, you know, preventative moves. h6 was a little bit of a prophylactic move, a little bit. But a6 was a much more effective one, and you got to give credit to my opponent who played knight b5. By the way, the computer still wants this. What? Queen a5, and I rejected this after queen e2. Okay. Instead, I went here, and okay, the position is just equal. And yeah, now here, the engine is saying the best move is knight d7. Yeah, and this makes sense. And after this, bishop f6, and we trade. And after this, you know, my opponent, if they trade, is equal, and if they go here, is minus 1.1. And I talk about, you guys have been here, right, for a few slow run episodes. The weakest point between a 1600 and a 2000 is making the wrong decision in transforming the game. You're bad at evaluating the right way to transform a game, and this was a bad evaluation. My opponent went here and was like, I'm keeping my queen on. I have long-term attacking ideas. No. You know, and after I went knight c5 and we made all these trades, I had an idea here to maybe take, and, you know, rook b8 would come in. And now black has only one defensive move. And again, all of that, even knight takes bishop. Knight takes bishop, you can fit it into a few categories. You can play, you know, knight takes bishop. You can say knights are better than bishops. I'm going to trade the knight for the bishop. You can then say, I'm up material, so I should trade down. All of those things are true. But in many ways, knight takes d3 is a prophylactic move. Is rook takes a2 capturable? The answer is yes. Is it practically the best move? Probably not, because after rook a2, rook b8, black has only one move not to lose the game on the spot. And it's not easy to spot at all. I spotted it, but it's only because it's a tactical situation, and defensive tactics are tactics too. If you take its mate, because your king can't escape. If you take the bishop now, you get your rook taken. So what do? Can you move your rook somewhere that it's protected? You could try. Then white plays queen c7, adding pressure on your rook and on the knight, and you just lose, because you cannot move this rook anywhere. If you play rook f8, oops. If you play take, rook b8, rook f8, that's nice. I play takes, I give you a check, I force your king out into the open, I play something like queen b4, and you're just under massive pressure. Your king has to play defense. You're not losing, like, completely, but it's a pretty bad position for absolutely no reason. So many people here would have just snapped off the pawn and just forgotten that, you know, after rook b8 takes, their king is not actually getting off the back rank. After knight takes d3, we don't have that problem anymore. And so knight takes d3 is not just a move that follows knight is better than bishop and we're up material so we should trade. In many ways, it's a prophylactic defensive move that enables us to play rook takes a2. And actually, the best move is the top line of the engine, which is rook b1, and sometimes when you have clearance to the last rank, you can play moves like queen b2. It's a beautiful little move. One rook covers the back rank only. Can't be two. Also, there have to be no counters, like there's no check anywhere in the position. And it's not just hope chess trying to get this. The only move for white is to move the rook over here. Because after I then bring in my rook, at least your king is protecting your rook. And obviously, I can also just take on a2. The reason why this is the best line for the engine is because it forces the white rook to be passive. And that's it. The computer is just, focused on making the pieces passive, whereas here, that rook is still a little active. I have a little bit of concern in the position, and I just, notice I didn't do much. I mean, I literally just pushed my a-pawn. I didn't touch anything else in the position. I pushed the a-pawn, and that is how we converted, which is another chapter in this book. Folks, I am promoting this book not because it's a company that has paid me money to talk about them. All right, which is a thing. That's the thing. I'm promoting this book because it's my work. All right, this was 50, 60 hours of video recording lessons, deep diving into positions, and I really feel like I have found the resource that will turn you into a 90th percentile chess player. Like I have created it. I'm so proud of it. And that's why I keep talking about it. Let's go. Let's keep going. Let's play a little faster. I feel like that was kind of a wake-up game. Let's play a Caro-Kann. I mean, I love how simple the Caro-Kann is. I mean, it's so effective. Hopefully my opponent plays knight c3. Yep. Already inaccurate. Like, you cannot play the exchange Caro-Kann and put a knight in front of the c-pawn. It just doesn't work. I expect bishop b5. I mean, most people play something like this. But you can't play like this. This is already an inaccuracy. Black is already almost better. Practically speaking, black is better. And now I just like to play this very easy. I like to pin this. I even like to take. So now we're going to play e6. This knight can go to e7 or f6 because when it goes to e7, it ends up going to f5, which is really nice. In this case, I will put it here because if they take us, we can always, not damage our structure. And bishop here would be terrible. Okay, so now we just have the bishop pair. Now I'm not going to take. I'm going to go here. Why would I give my opponent the bishop pair, right? I mean, that's kind of how that transpired. Bishop d6 or bishop e7, both are okay. When I see a rook this far from my king, I kind of maybe want to play a little safer. Opponent is playing at light speed and I think has immediately blundered. So this is something in How to Win at Chess Next Level called continuity, which is every move you make or your opponent makes, you have to think how it impacts the board. And by playing this move, you have removed the defender of the center. You have opened up the rook and you've opened up the bishop, but you've removed the guard of the middle. And suddenly taking opens up the possibility of queen takes and knight takes d4. Which I have to tell you, I don't see how my opponent counters other than taking with the pawn, which is probably terrible. So now we immediately punish this mistake. We could have autopiloted short castle, but we don't. And now white is stuck. Does white give away a pawn? Okay, they decide to give away a pawn. But of course, this is just bad. This is just this is not correct. That's a fine move. We can defend our knight or we can put it exactly back to where it was. There are some tactical presentations on the open files in the middle, but we're just up a pawn. Our next move is castling. Now, the opponent could launch an attack. They can do what's called a rook lift, also in that book. Okay, a3 is just, a3 is not a good move. They could launch an attack, it is possible. Bishop f6 is there, but be very careful moving stuff in the middle when your king is in the middle. Let's go here. Rook e3 could just blunder a fork, by the way, now. Rook e3, it is a hypothetical, but like the opponent could look at rook e3, d4 here, take, and think that there's just a mate and go for it. But okay, queen g3. That's, when you see a queen like this, there's bishop h6 incoming maybe. But none of it should ever work. I can just play bishop f6 myself. So we are protected and we have pressure on the diagonal, and At some point we will move. This is also in the next book. Oh man, this is so great. There's an example in the next book where a person has 2 pawns and pushing them opens up mobility for the opponent. So right now, I'm not touching these pawns because we have total control of the position. So why would we move the pawns? Instead, I'm going to go queen b6 with pressure on the queen side. And then I'm going to play something like rook c8 with pressure on the queen side. There's a cool move here. Rook takes d5, sacrificing the rook, and the knight takes, hitting the queen, hitting the bishop, but it just doesn't work. I mean, when I say it doesn't work at all, it's not an exaggeration. First of all, it doesn't work because I can move the queen to guard the bishop. And second of all, it doesn't work because I can just take the knight. And third of all, it doesn't work because I don't even have to take any of those pieces. I can take on b2. The knight hangs, the pawn hangs, the pawn hangs. b4, okay. So b4, continuity, this is now weakened. Right, so immediately I'm looking at rook c8. I'm also looking at putting the knight back on d4 and maybe attacking c2 or playing knight f5. I sort of lean toward, like, why don't we move something that hasn't moved yet? And obviously this is all very tender. a5 also could have been maybe possible, a little bit of pawn play, but I like bringing a new piece into the game. Okay, this is an interesting one. So my queen's hanging, the knight is hanging. d4 is a fork, but if we play d4, a lot of you would think the knight is going to move attacking the queen, which is not going to work because we would go there. That doesn't mean you play d4. d4, there is knight e4 with an attack on our bishop. And I don't love that because if I move the bishop, then the bishop goes to f4. And d4 is exactly featured in the book, which is amazing. And I will pull it up and move like this, which allows the knight into the game. Instead, I'm considering just like queen c7. Or knight d4. Knight d4 blocking the attack, but then we're getting into a pin, which I'm not the biggest fan of. So why don't we trade queens? Now, bishop f4 is actually a good move. You could actually return with bishop f4, which would be a little annoying, and then if we play e5, we blunder the whole game. These pawns are very sensitive. Like, we're not jumping out of our skin to move them forward. I have realized there is something very mildly annoying about bishop f4, and it's the fact that I don't have anywhere easy to put this queen. Ooh, wow. Okay, my opponent is not playing the best move. We're going to, of course, trade queens. And now we already know this is very effective, a very effective mechanism for, for improving our position. This is also a little bit of a reroute. It's a side hop type of move. You know, you're looking for this kind of opportunity. Knight c5 is annoying. I have to tell you, Knight c5 is a bit of an annoying move. I'm not very happy with the fact that this isn't coming. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play pawn to a5. My idea of pawn to a5 is that if b5 comes in, my opponent, okay, that's fine, but what about pawn takes pawn? I mean, to lose this little pawn play battle is very silly for my opponent. I mean, knight t7 doesn't even work. Yeah, but here's the amazing thing about this position. You did all that, right? I can just take the pawn. Because a rook, right, you would think this is like a really big deal, but I'm queening on the other side of the board, right? And so I'm not going to take with the king because there would be check, but if I play rook f8, bishop c5, rook a8, I mean, I have a knight and 3 pawns for a rook, and a2 is right there. By the way, this is completely unnecessary. I could have just moved my rook. But I am just trying to show you that a rook is not everything. When you get a piece for it and some pawns, the long-range capabilities of your pieces should not be understated. Like, I'm just winning the game if this pawn get... What? What was that? Rook b1. We're just going to continue like nothing happened. No problem. Now, will my opponent blunder rook takes b6, bishop check? The answer is yes, even at 1560. And now they lose this. And now that's bad. You gotta always look for checks, and my opponent resigns. And this was a 1600 level player that just played too fast. This was just a 1600 who played a little bit too quickly. In a moment, I have to go pick up a friend from the airport, so I am going to breeze through this a little bit, and I would like to... No, I think I don't have time. I think my friend is lying. So I will do a little deeper of an analysis. And I mean, I would hope in 2 games you can still learn like 10 different things. So first things first, there is a funny example in the book. So check out this position, right? The move d4 is a question. And in the final chapter of How to Win at Chess, next level, there is a position. It's position number 4. Look at this. This is amazing. So the idea is pawn to d4, which allows the knight to jump in. If pawn to d4, the knight comes in, attacks on f6, right? I mean, if this doesn't convince you to buy the book, I don't know what will. Look, position 4. This is the chapter after you have learned all your stuff. In position number 4, you can kind of make it out there. The question is, should black play pawn to d4, advancing and attacking the knight? The rook is kind of pointed at the king. And if pawn to d4 is played, the knight jumps to the e4 square. And even though you remove it as a defender, you have to evaluate if the knight is actually better for white in the center or, you know, blocking the king. And I mean, this is literally the same exact position. I mean, no. Sorry, people are going to get offended. Hypothetically, figuratively, this is a similar type of position, right? And here, my opponent should have unquestionably played bishop f4. And in this position, there is a ghost move for white. And the move is based on the pressure here, you know, even if bishop f4, queen d8 was played. Like, if you flip this position to white's perspective, it's not so easy to break through because your rooks are sort of stuck, your knight is stuck, but you do have a move here, which if you read the chapter on defending, one of the ways to defend is to create a little bit of chaos. It's to go for the king. It's to, you know, and if you read the chapter on reroutes, the knight has a move. And do you know how you find a move like knight e4? It's a tactical theme. Knight to e4 is what you do when your tactics are on the next level. Obviously, knight e4, pawn takes, you would spot this, right? But the existence of this needs to illuminate in your brain that this is even possible. And not that it's possible now. You have to spot the possibility of moving your knight to the middle when the queen is on the d-file before it even happens. That's what we are trying to unlock with the slow run, is like, do you notice that I said bishop f4 is good? And then I was like, wait a minute, if I put my queen anywhere here, like queen e7 just loses to knight takes d5. It's a one mover, you know, it's based on a pin. Black is like hopeless here. I mean, knight can even come back. It doesn't even have to take. And then the queen goes here. And then knight f5. And then the queen goes here. And there's a fork. Or we just take on g7. And bishop h6. The game is over. Like within 5 moves, white can win the game purely off the pressure in the center of the board. Instead of that, you know, my opponent went here, which was okay, but takes. And now, seeing that knight c5 was coming, I played this move pawn to a5 because I wanted to bait this pawn to come forward. And then I would have moved my knight, and this knight would have actually been destabilized. They wouldn't have had a pawn protecting it, which, if you have a pawn protecting a piece, which is then being protected by another pawn, that's very solid. That's going to be very difficult to remove, whereas this is a little bit easier. I can put my knight on c4, I can attack the bishop. The best move in the position instead of a5 was to immediately play knight e5, rerouting the knight, opening up this. And after knight c5 to play something like, you know, maybe b6 takes, rook c2, or even knight c4 attacking the bishop. Something like knight a3. And the point is that we just clear off each other's pawns, or actually I think I just win material here because we know 2 pieces are better than a rook. And that was a Caro-Kann. I mean, that was a Caro-Kann where black is already better on the 4th move because of very natural development by white, shockingly. And then, yeah, we had an advantage. This position is already -1. Isn't that incredible? -1 from the opening just because we preserved the bishop pair. This move, so many of you would just castle, not even think twice. But this has to be played. And then, you know, this is the position that we are after from the opening. And these pawns just restricted. That's what they did. They didn't let the knight get in. All right, folks, I'm going to go pick my friend up from the airport. This episode is getting cut a little bit short. I would have loved to play 3 games. It's rare I play 2. But I cannot stress enough, like, I hope, please let me know in the comments if you are enjoying the series, if you're enjoying the way I'm breaking things down. Pawn play, piece play. I am trying to do it similar to the book. There are chapters on all this: pawn play, piece play, tactical ideas, tactical motifs, and how they fuel the game, like that knight transfer that you just saw in that last game, attacking, defending, converting, winning positions. It's all there. And 2 or 3 themes come up in every single game. Get yourself a signed pre-order before they're gone, because they're not coming back. They don't like to do this many. They like to make signed books feel very, very special. And they opened it up one last time, so I don't know how many there are left, but if you see it, just check it out. And I will see you in the next episode. Get out of here.